I think Pallavi was very kind in providing those nuggets over. My daughter definitely approved and reviewed the speech, and she said, Mom, you've got to start with some sort of a joke. Don't make it a dry presentation where we talk about, numbers and technology. I said, okay, tell me, what should I start with? And she said, it's about women, it's about revival. And then, I'm going to quote the joke she asked me to narrate. So, Pride of Lions is mostly led by a lioness. Pack of Wolves is, again, often led by a female wolf. A cub of polar bears is very well led by a female polar bear. And humans being so genetically advanced than them, did we go wrong somewhere, or are we missing something? Am I missing something from our keynote speaker? So let's find our answers towards it. Okay. Reality check. Significant attrition of women during and after pandemic. And of course, it's widening the gender gap. And I've quoted some of the researchers that you can see here. But what's most important is that graph right there. Look at the junior, senior professionals, a drop of, close to 25 to 30% in that workforce, leading up to the mid-manager, the senior manager, and the VP director level positions. It's widening. What that tells me is, even though at the C-suite and at the executive board in the technology side, we remain flat, but in the next 5-10 years, we're probably going to go back in time in history where we started from. And there's been a lot of talks about what can be done to fix that, what can be done to remediate it. Of course, there's a haphazard motion amongst corporations appointing a diversity officer to setting some bold targets, sovereign wealth funds, of course, enforcing that they should have board representatives as females. But why isn't it working? Why are we still here? Because I believe intent is important. You can write KPIs on papers, you can set goals and targets, but the intent is important. Here are some of the statistics, as my daughter calls, too dry in terms of numbers. But again, a reality check that yes, there has been an increase, 64% increase in non-gender biased hiring, right? There has been an increase in parental leave for women. There's absolutely measures being taken by corporations to bridge the gap. But we still need such conferences, and we still need avenues to talk, because there's absolutely something that I'm missing. And what is that? And can we together address it? Can we recognize it and address it? So there isn't truly a playbook that would help everything and that would work for every organization. But there are strategies that we can take. So the strategic approach could be really a top-down priority at the CXO level, and making sure we publish those stats at a quarterly corporate responsibility report, or at the executive level, at the C-suite level, right? It needs to start from top above. Targeted interventions. I think there has been a lot of talk about targeted interventions. The sisterhood, mentorship, allyship. Those are important. But I'll give you a little story about this. So during COVID, of course, we all switched to remote working, and going beyond 5 p.m. had become a norm. Kids were usually home, so everybody adjusted to this flexible schedule of scheduling meetings. And as we were coming back or coming out of the crisis, there were still some meetings that were being scheduled at 5 p.m. And I was part of that, and one of my colleagues, she was also part of that, and it was a very critical meeting, of course, around architectural decisions. And our male counterpart, who had scheduled the meeting, started at it saying, apologies, I have to schedule a meeting at 5 p.m., but here is a topic. And then she was bold enough to say, hey, you're setting up meeting at 5 p.m. My child is missing some of his classes, and today is the third time that this has happened. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, but this was critical. I couldn't get time on your calendar and others' calendars. And I was part of that meeting, and I said, let's pause and let's go and reschedule, because I understand that there is less time on everybody's calendar, but if it's important, we have to make time before 5 p.m. so that the kids can still go and attend their classes that are important. Targeted intervention. It's very important to speak up in the moment, make sure we support each other, and foster a change. And after that incident, my male colleague came back to me and he said, I apologize, I didn't realize my wife usually takes care of taking the kids over to the classes. And he was being very authentic. And he said, I just overlooked the fact. And I said, I'm happy that you acknowledged and that you did not take offense of my reaction, my bossy reaction the other day. But I would go back to what Nicole, I think, said yesterday. Hold tightly to your values and loosely to your emotions and feelings. So our values need to be held tightly there, and we need to intervene. Targeted interventions are absolutely critical, absolutely important. And this would happen every single day in our lives, where we really have to come out and see if there's a contradiction to our values, let's challenge that. And we will come to an agreement which works for all of us. So, targeted interventions, I hold it dearly to my heart, and hence the story. Career development, of course, that's another aspect that goes from attracting the talent to motivating the talent, and of course providing them the right level of mentorship, guidance, and professional and personal development, and celebrating the successes and learning from our mistakes. It's very important to give each other the kudos, because sometimes we are very hard on ourselves. And we just talk about, hey, I couldn't meet this, hey, this slipped. But it's also important for us to recognize our wins, to celebrate each other's wins. And then that really increases the rush of the adrenaline to go and achieve more, right? It's a vicious cycle that keeps you motivated, that keeps you going and getting it, and it's important to celebrate that. So career development is a very important aspect, and I think women in general look forward to an overall career development strategy than just being picked up and hired and moved along. Collaboration. And there has been a lot of talks about collaboration. And it's not just networking for the sake of it, it's collaboration like we are here today, connected with each other on a cause, and then continuing it going forward. Collaboration is also about making sure we build that trusted advisory board. I think Gretcha, talked about it yesterday. We need to have those trusted advisors surrounded, and it takes a village to really build a collaborated network. And it's also about making sure our allies and our mentors come along in the journey with us, making sure our male counterparts do recognize and understand how we can collaborate and the various levels at which we connect with each other. So collaboration is absolutely important. But these are a few themes that I, within PVH, along with our women leaders, have been focused on. And we have started seeing a change. I will not say we are there yet, but I would say that we're seeing some changes. So let's go to the next slide. And I wish I had the ability to zoom out that chromosome, because that's important. It's all of us. It's all of us women that have been empowered or will be empowered by the various themes that we just talked about. It's about making those bold thinking and commitments, and then coming back on it and making sure, we attract, onboard, develop, motivate, retain, and celebrate our success. It's about changing the DNA and embedding women empowerment in our DNA. It's important that we continuously work through this. I was talking to my chief diversity officer before coming over here, and I was asking him, what do you think your goals are? And is there any room to make changes to those goals? And he mentioned to me, and he said, the goals that we have set are the goals that you as women leaders within the company have decided or asked. And it is continuous. We want to achieve gender parity globally in all leadership positions at SVP level. This was a PVH goal set after we reviewed the voices of women at the SVP level, because there were challenges. And the senior vice president level, you want to make sure you have those decisions and have gender parity. This came up as a topic after we solicited feedback globally from Europe, from Asia, from North America, and we came up with this goal. Implementing a diverse candidate slate requirement. Of course, this was again another goal that wasn't just dictated or mandated, but came from, I would say, the associate survey. The unconscious bias training was a very, I would say, intriguing experience, because I was sitting next to one of our senior vice presidents, and the training was being delivered, and we were asked to partner with each other. And it exposed some of the unconscious biases that each one of us had, that I had, that my senior vice president had. But I think what it enforced was that authenticity and that trust to be able to share those biases with each other. And then we could come together as a group and talk about the biases. So it's important to take the steps from, again, top above at the C-suite, at the executive leadership level, and then transcend down. The change has to happen at every level of leadership. And again, I'm quoting my story at PVH because I feel we have started to make a difference. I am a use case here. The reason I am here and my friend Kelly is here is because the invitation was to our CIO, Eileen Mahoney. She was supposed to come here and represent and talk about leadership. And she championed us. She's our mentor. And she said, well, why not? We take those voices that really empower us to represent us. And we were the chosen few who came here. And I would like to come here again and again and again and see that we are making a difference. I really want that first slide to change. The first slide where we started seeing the dip in numbers from 30%, I would want to see a change. And I think together, we can all embark on this journey and make that change. So our evolution, and again, PVH is an apparel manufacturer, but we have a technology focus. And because we have, of course, Eileen Mahoney and Julie Fuller, we have women leadership at the top, it's easier for us to sometimes make a difference, make a case, and come up with objectives and goals that we all align towards. I do want us to take a moment and look at what progress we have made after we started adopting the themes that I just talked about, the themes around targeted intervention, collaboration, career development for women. We can see changes where, at the female executive vice president level, the representation of women is at about 38%, which is, up 2% from 2020. And of course, at the senior vice president level, we're at 44%, and we're hoping we'll meet parity before our target date, but let's, keep our fingers crossed there. The VP representation sits at 50% in our company, which is down slightly from 2020 because of the factors we just saw and talked about. And there is, of course, area of opportunity there and development. But I do want to share a story here because it's important that all of us understand career development and elevation in career is something that comes from you within. I think we just heard in the keynote speech right before that you need to raise your hand and look for opportunity. That's important. Reverse mentorship is also important. I was, of course, in a very sweet spot. I had been a director in the e-commerce space. I knew the digital commerce technology and was happily sitting in my sweet spot there. And I didn't want to embrace any changes because it was good. I knew my space, I knew my technology, and I could continue on it forever. And then there was this opportunity to become a vice president and really be responsible for the technologies across our value chain, which means being responsible for our digital designing tools and our manufacturing tools to our source and supply tools. That was complex. But there was an open role. And I took 6 months to keep, debating, do I think I can do it, or should I even take the risk of going ahead? And of course, my CIO is a big mentor of mine. And we talked about it, and she said one thing, that if you feel you should go ahead, then listen to your heart and go ahead. And I said, but I don't know. The technology is unknown to me. It's an unknown territory, unsafe place for me to wet my feet in. And then she said, well, look at a child when they are born. Everything is unknown to them. Do they even know how to breathe? But they're able to. And they're children, right? No one has taught them. For us, we think we can navigate, and we should just have that confidence in ourselves. And I took the plunge. And there were male counterparts who said, should I congratulate you for this position? Or do you really know what you're doing? And I said, yeah, maybe let's talk in 3 years or 4 years. And once I took that decision, I continued on with it. And here I am. I feel very proud. I feel happy that I took that leap of faith. And I learned a lot. I accelerated a lot in my learning. And I feel it made me matured as a leader. It made me see a lot of other global aspects that was unknown to me. And honestly, it really fueled that child in me that was curious to know, curious to understand how the world works. I didn't really knew before the dress that I'm wearing, how many hands it has passed through, or how difficult it was to source the raw material, the cotton, the thread, bring the designs together, the weavers together, manufacture it, and transport it in a ship, in a container from Asia over to North America, and then take it to our stores. I was impervious to that. I didn't really know. But after this role, I feel I've known a lot. I've learned a lot. And I would encourage each one of you to take that plunge whenever it comes. Whenever your heart says you should, think about it, and you should definitely. And before I close, I do want to quote from Rudyard Kipling. This is a poem that has been my inspiration for quite some time. And I think each one of you would identify with those words. So the poem is, If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours will be the earth and everything that's in it. And no one can stop you. No one can say no to you. And I know each one of you, you do that. You keep your head calm. You do believe in yourself. It's about taking the next step. And I hope I come again year after year and we make a difference, because these goals would change and we will march towards new goals and we'll keep achieving those targets and beating them. Thank you.